And now, your daily dose of debate, breaking news, and uncensored views. This is the Michael Medved Show.
And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. A great day despite a great feud that is continuing between the President of the United States, and yes, the First Lady of the United States is also directly involved, versus a late-night comedian who is in many ways sort of the leader of the pack for late-night humor on TV, Jimmy Kimmel. Who is going to win the attempt by the Trump administration to push the Federal Communications Commission to push ABC TV to get Jimmy Kimmel fired is a very hot topic right now in all political parties and in all media functions as well. We will get to that. Meanwhile, there is news from CNN. James Comey, the former director of the FBI, who was fired by President Trump, Comey has been indicted a second time by Trump's Justice Department, say two sources who told this to CNN. The specific charges are there on the table, but they are not immediately public or clear. President Trump has long pressed for his political adversaries to face charges, including the former FBI director, whom he believed to be a key player in the alleged effort to, quote, weaponize the justice system against him. That's, of course, a difficult charge because Comey didn't last long at the FBI before he was fired after President Trump came to power the first time in his first term. And what's fascinating about this is with all of the controversies involving President Trump's second term, which he's right in approaching the middle of, that this whole fight with Comey goes all the way back to the very beginning of his first term, which is in the history books. Speaking about making history, Mediaite is reporting on a stunning new survey from the Harvard's Center for American Political Studies, which found that Republicans and Democrats are absolutely perfectly tied in the generic congressional ballot. This is roughly 6 months out from the November midterm election. The poll of 2,745 registered voters was conducted between the 23rd and 26th of this month of April, and it carried just a 1.87 margin of error. And asked the question, big question, if the congressional election were held today, it'll actually be held this November, would you be more likely to vote for a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate running for Congress in your district? 50% of those indicated they'd vote for their local Democrat, while the other 50% said they bled red, they'd be voting Republican. Democrats do boast a 52% to 48% advantage with independents, however. All in all, 71% of respondents said they were definitely or probably going to vote, but Republicans boasted a slight advantage in that regard. 62% of Republican respondents indicated they were definitely going to vote, and an additional 18% that probably vote. For Democrats, those figures were 59%, not 62%, and 17%, while for independents, they were much lower. Only 40% of independents said they were certainly going to vote, which could end up, given the advantage that Democrats have among independents, it could end up being very good news for Republicans. Coming up, the Mediaite is also reporting that President Trump famously once bragged on the campaign trail that Americans would get tired of winning if he became commander-in-chief. Now there are some of his critics who may be getting tired of seeing his face everywhere, with Trump said to add his mug to the U.S. passport. And by talking about his mug, they're not talking about a mug for coffee or for water. It's his face. And it's a frowning vision of his face. It's a particularly unflattering image, but they're going to be putting this on the new U.S. passport. The Bulwark first reported today that the State Department is finalizing a radical redesign of the passport that would feature a, quote, serious-looking Trump. He's not serious. He looks angry. He looks really angry, actually. Would feature a serious-looking Trump from his second inaugural portrait. The passport update is ostensibly part of a larger celebration of the 250th anniversary of the USA. That, according to the Bulwark. There's also this. President Donald Trump's golf course in Miami has installed a gold statue of the president standing triumphantly with his fist raised. Fight, fight, fight. Remember that? Again, people see that who are fans of President Trump as his demonstration of courage under fire, and which was displayed again in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The golf course on Miami, it looks strange because the statue is gold, and even his pants have gold wrinkles in them, and it actually looks like the kind of thing that you see in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but maybe it's meant to be in that corner of the golf course in Florida. Speaking about the ongoing battles and the battles involving President Trump and his perceptions by the public, the White House today intensified pressure on ABC TV to fire late-night host Jimmy Kimmel over a comment that Kimmel made about First Lady Melania Trump last week, with a top aide saying the comedian, quote, should be shunned for the rest of his life. We will play that that comment, and you can evaluate it for yourself. It does seem like something of an overreaction. And the overreaction is because the comment was made several days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And to relate it to what happened at the Correspondents' Dinner, it's 8 seconds that they are saying should lead to Jimmy Kimmel being shunned for the rest of his life. That, according to a White House aide, Stephen Chung, who said in part echoing a demand made by the president. Coming up on the Michael Medved Show, we'll play that joke and we'll talk with Juan Williams of Fox News. Coming up on the Medved Show.
Listeners love Michael Medved.
I listen to you occasionally when I'm driving. It turns my stomach every time I do.
Lately, you've been sounding like a raving lunatic. You upset me so much. You never tell the truth.
I truly believe you're delusional.
You don't have a clue.
They're wrong again. What's going on in your head?
You are no good for the country.
People like you who are a monster. Have you no shame?
The Michael Medved Show.
And on the Michael Medved Show, it is always an honor and a pleasure to welcome back Juan Williams, who is a great friend of this show. He is also a Fox News senior political analyst, columnist for The Hill, and the author of the fine and necessary book, A New Prize for These Eyes, The Rise of America's Second Civil Rights Movement. And first things first, Juan, I understand that you were at the festive gala, wonderful and much discussed correspondence dinner for White House correspondents that kind of got disrupted. Am I right?
You're exactly right. This is one of those moments, Michael, where you look back on it and you're trying to make sense of it. But that's ordinary. Anything happens, a car accident, you trip, whatever. You say, oh my gosh, how did that happen? But in the moment, and I think this is what distinguishes that correspondence dinner trauma, is that in the moment, there were so many reporters in the room, people like me, that we were trying to make sense of it as it was happening. Because here's what happened. I overheard what I thought was a waiter dropping a tray of food in the back. And I turned and looked, went back to the table where you had salad served at that time. And then I noticed other people also turning. And then it was like all of a sudden someone said something. I don't know what, because I didn't hear anybody say anything. But all of a sudden there were people diving under the tables. And you could see the panic really wash across the room. And I'm just sitting there looking. And then people are telling me, hey, Juan, get down. And I'm like, what is going on? And then here comes another wave. This time, men and women with guns extended, and it almost like, are they pursuing someone in the room? And it's not clear. And then you see that they've taken the president, the vice president, and other dignitaries off the stage, and it was open. There's no glass or anything separating, so it's an open area. And I was at a table not far from where the president was seated, and you could see now that they were military type looking people with huge guns approaching, not just the handguns. So the sense of anxiety and fear in the room was very real. And then you have reporters, as I said, who are trying to get on their phones or get on the internet. And there's a whole sense of, what's the story? And how are these people going to get the story? They're in the room, and the room is locked in at this juncture. But it was a lot of fright, anxiety. And later I said on Fox that, to me, it was a miniature of the way we feel in this country at the moment, which is that there's a lot of anxiety, uncertainty. We've got a president who's fighting with everybody, who divides people, fighting with the Pope. We've got gas prices going up. We've got a war going on that we don't understand. And
we don't know how to end.
We don't, right. So, to me, my wife and others have their own conspiracy theories about what took place. But to me, what I can see with my own eyes and know about reality is we live in a divided country where there's a lot of anger, a lot of finger pointing and resentment. And I see, as I said, the post-White House correspondent Peter Doocy said to Trump, why you? And Trump made it out that he was such a patriotic guy, and he is brave to serve in a dangerous job. I think, in fact, it's that he is such a divisive guy, and he has spurred on in this country a lot of the blame game and anger that now dominate our political discourse.
Well, again, one of the things that I don't think anybody has answered yet is when Cole Allen burst into the room, was running across the room, and began firing. Was he firing at anyone in particular, or just firing into the air?
He never entered the room, Michael. He was outside. So what happened was he, ran past a security checkpoint, the magnetometers. He ran past it. And at that point, then, Secret Service agents, I think the uniform people, not the plainclothes folks, grabbed at him, and he turned and shot at one of them and hit the officer who was wearing a bulletproof vest. So he hit the vest. Right. At that point, then he was pushed down and handcuffed. So he never got anywhere into the room. He didn't even get really close to the room, but he was outside the room.
And you heard the gunshots. Again, not what you were expecting, but is there a way that we can maybe proceed to? Well, part of it is figuring out some kind of negotiation that we can have with Iran, because more and more it is looking as if the president and his colleagues got into the war with no plan for conclusion. Is there a plan that's hiding there somewhere for the U.S. to finish this war?
Let me go back to what you said, because I think it's so telling. You said there's no plan for conclusion. And I thought, when I heard this from you, Michael, there was no goal stated at the beginning. So, people say, if you're not on the takeoff, how can you be there on the landing? And in this case, what did the president state as to our purpose? Is it about their nuclear capability? He said that, I think months ago, he said we'd obliterated that, but he's went into this. I guess, I don't know. Was it about regime change? Well, the same regime is there. He killed off Ayatollah Khomeini, but it looks like the Republican Guard and the kind of radical thinking that was present before is still there, and they're still oppressing their own people. Well, was it about sort of disabling them as terrorist enablers? And again, they still have the capacity to do bad deeds across the Middle East. So exactly, was it about the Strait of Hormuz? What is it about? Why are we there? Why are we sending more warships? Even as I'm talking to you, Mr. Medved, we're sending more troops and more warships to the Middle East.
Okay, this is one of the questions, I mean, obviously, that everyone is pondering in Washington. We'll continue that conversation with Juan Williams. He is the Fox News senior political analyst. And what about the polls that all show that the election could be very, very close, the midterm elections, and again, a repeat of a very closely divided Congress? What is the future going to mean in terms of one party or the other gaining a meaningful advantage? We will get to that and more with Juan Williams, the author of New Prize for These Eyes. Coming up, more with Juan.
Sign up today for our free weekly newsletter at michaelmedved.com.
And on the Michael Medved Show, speaking with Juan Williams, the senior political correspondent analyst for Fox News and a columnist for The Hill publication. Juan, we're coming up to this election. The war isn't settled. The ongoing debates about Jimmy Kimmel's future aren't settled. But by the way, on that issue, the President of the United States and the First Lady are both pushing not only to have Jimmy Kimmel fired from ABC TV, but to have him, Stephen Chung at the White House staff said today, to be shunned for the rest of his life. Do you think there might be a little bit of an overreaction here?
You think so? It's so telling. And so, I mean, to me, the humor here is in the overreaction. And the fact that these are the same people who love to talk about cancel culture when anybody says anything that to them is coming from the left wing that they think, oh, well, that's offensive. And why are you going after those people? Why aren't you going after those? Now, I'm sorry, it's anything that comes from the right wing in terms of humor and mockery, et cetera, is to be allowed. But now anything coming from the left wing in terms of similar mockery is justification for firing. They tried to fire Kimmel before. I think all they did was to drive up his ratings and get him a new deal with Disney.
Well, that seems to be the situation. But they apparently are going to be doing some kind of review from the FCC. Is this an abuse of the First Amendment, going after somebody because of, well, again, let me play this 8 seconds that Jimmy Kimmel delivered a kind of lame joke, but he was doing his own version of what the White House Correspondents' Dinner might look like and how somebody could handle the job of MC. They didn't have an MC this time because they didn't have a program. But here was the fateful 8 seconds of humor.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Your reaction, Juan Williams?
I think Michael Medved is on the money yet again. A lame joke. It's not a great joke, but it's a lame joke. I wasn't watching, but now just hearing it here on the show, it's like, so much. I don't know. I don't think it's any great joke. I don't think it's any great insult. And later, Kimmel said he wasn't suggesting anything about violence or assassination. He was talking about the fact that this is basically a 79, soon to be 80-year-old man, married to a younger woman. And of course, people beyond Jimmy Kimmel have thoughts about the idea that Trump is sometimes a very divisive and difficult character. And I think that's what he was talking. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think that what we are seeing, Michael, is what we earlier described here on the show as overreaction. And it's telling, I think, a telling reaction that they are reacting in this way to generate anger and a sense of alienation on the part of their voters against what they see as establishment media. So they look for every opportunity to divide and antagonize the American people.
Well, again, Melania's statement, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. Basically, what is going to be the deciding issue when people go to vote and talk about what they want different and better from Congress? Congress is very unpopular. Does that give Democrats an inherent advantage?
Oh, without a doubt. But the answer to your initial question about what's going to be the issue is that a matter of history, political history, is that the president's popularity drives what happens in midterm elections. And overwhelmingly, we've seen, including in Trump's first term, big losses by the incumbent party. And in this case, what we're anticipating to be like 20 to 40 seats shifting hands, going from Republican majority to a Democratic majority in the House. The big news in recent days has been that even among Republicans, this is a surprise to me, I'm now hearing people say, the Senate might go to the Democrats. I find that incredible, but that is an indicator to you, Michael Medved, of how people are viewing the winds blowing in terms of what happens in the fall. And again, it's all on the basis of the lack of popularity of the president. People may be, discontent with the Congress, with its lack of action, lack of holding the president accountable, lack of legislative progress. But ultimately, it's the disapproval of the president of the United States that drives what happens in midterms.
Okay, bring this back home to where we started. There was a piece by Faith Bottoms in the Wall Street Journal that appeared yesterday. And it talked about Trump standing up with courage in the face of fire, courage under fire. And there are even people who believe that this whole thing was a setup, that it was a hoax, it was a gag. Mm-hmm. You first of all, you were there. Do you think there's any chance at all that this was actually orchestrated, that this was a fraud?
I wouldn't know. I was there, and I went through a very real experience, and I saw very real guns in my face. So, I just don't have the ability to step back. I'm not a conspiracy theorist anyway. I am often very reluctant to buy into them, but sometimes I'm wrong. I still am of a belief that we landed on the moon, Michael. I think we really did. So, you
We're
could say,
going back.
that old fool, Juan Williams, but I don't buy it. I don't know it. I mean, if we learn later that something else happened, there are people who believe that what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, when the president's ear was bloodied, that was a setup. I'm not one of those people.
No, good for you, because again, we have enough problems coming to terms with the real confrontations in American politics to make up stories about conspiracies because they're entertaining. I think is a waste of time and a destruction of opportunities. Juan Williams, his most recent columns are up at our website at michaelmedved.com. And meanwhile, don't forget to join as members, our YouTube channel, which is available, Michael Medved Official. Don't miss that opportunity to actually be part of the conversation with people like Juan Williams. Juan, Godspeed to you, and look forward to the next time we can get together.
I look forward to it too. Thank you, Michael.
We have several new videos on our YouTube channel. What about the Trump plan to give $2,000 to every American based upon our tariffs and money that's been brought in? What makes a great president? With Brett Baer of Fox News, an interview on Theodore Roosevelt and his special meaning for today. Plus a brand new video on the history of socialism in this country, what buried that political alternative. That and more at the michaelmedved.com. You can find it, and once you watch our new YouTube channel, subscribe to it. And on the Michael Medved Show, President Trump has already seen a practical reaction to the attempted shooting that took place over the weekend on Saturday night at the Correspondents' Dinner for the White House correspondents. The lesson from that shooting was an item on the Trump agenda. He argued that what happened at the Correspondents' Dinner was, first of all, he thanked the Secret Service, but he felt that there was another lesson to be learned from what happened. Here is the President of the United States, clip 17.
I will say, it's not a particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before.
Okay, he's talking about his $400 million ballroom that he's planning to build. Some legal problems with making those plans without the eager participation of Congress, but we shall see. Meanwhile, the East Wing of the White House was destroyed, obliterated, a term that President Trump likes. He does not want to obliterate the Secret Service. He wants to thank the Secret Service and express his appreciation for the job they did on Saturday night. This is President Trump, clip 11.
What felt similar? You had the First Lady with you today. What felt different? And you have another 2+ years in office. Are you concerned about something like this happening?
Well, I can't be concerned. I can only get great people. They did the job, in my opinion, a much better job than Butler. Butler had one weak spot that we all know about. Somebody should have been up there. But even Butler, We had our sniper on our side within 4.2 seconds from a distance of about 400 yards, one shot, and he was gone.
Okay, he's talking about the job that they did, which, as he said, was even better than Butler, Pennsylvania, where his life was narrowly spared by a shot that still struck him. Meanwhile, CBS's Norah O'Donnell was speaking with President Trump about what happened on 60 Minutes on CBS. And Norah O'Donnell quoted what the shooter had said about the lack of security at the event at the Washington Hilton. This is clip 20.
He had been staying at the hotel since Friday. He checked in, he said he had cased the place, and he wrote, "What the hell is the Secret Service doing?" And he wrote this quote, "I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got is nothing." He wrote, like, this level of incompetence is insane. Sir, you have already had two
Well, he was pretty incompetent, too, because he got caught. And he got caught pretty easily. So I'd say he was pretty incompetent, too. You know, I could take any event having to do with security or anything else. I can always find fault. Those guys did a good job last night. They did a really good job.
Okay, and I think that most Americans would look at the way that things turned out and agree with those sentiments. One of the people who would certainly agree was Wolf Blitzer of CNN, who was there at the correspondents' dinner, of course, and he says he was coming close to the White House Correspondents' Dinner gunman just as the Secret Service threw him to the ground. Here is an eyewitness account from Wolf Blitzer of CNN, clip 9.
As I was walking out of the men's room to go down the stairs to go back to the ballroom, all of a sudden I hear gunshots going up. And I knew they were gunshots. I covered wars and I heard the gunshots. And all of a sudden, the next thing I knew, I see the gunman, maybe 3 or 4 feet away, shooting. And it looked like he was just firing randomly at the top, firing bullets. And he had a big gun. I don't know what kind of gun it was, but it was a big gun. And within a few seconds, all of a sudden, a police officer comes running up to me and pushes me down to protect me because he didn't know who this guy was shooting at. And here I was standing there not very far away, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 feet, whatever. And I'm down on the ground. He throws me down on the ground. He lies on top of me. And then the next thing I knew, the gunshots ended. I didn't know exactly what happened, but I assumed it was over by then.
Somebody else who expressed, I think eloquently, some of the fears that Americans rightly should have in reaction to what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Van Jones, also of CNN, said that he's afraid of a portion of America, maybe a portion of America that is a little bit too warped and dangerously warped by partisanship, that will seek to lionize or at least excuse the White House shooter and to romanticize him in much the same way that Luigi Mangione, who is obviously a killer and a unquestionably guilty killer, the same way he has been romanticized and excused.
I'm starting to worry about something, though, which is that the shooter survived, which means on Monday he's going to court, which means there is a danger that people try to make him some sort of hero. Mm. You watch what happened with Luigi, who shot a CEO to death and somehow became a hero. So they said tonight you saw the worst of America, you saw the best of America. Tonight you definitely saw the best of America. I hope on Monday we don't see the worst again. I just want to say very clearly, This kind of despicable behavior has no place in America. It has no place on the right. It has no place on the left. We don't know if he was there because he wanted to hurt Democrats or Republicans. Both were there. We don't know if he wanted to hurt journalists or politicians. Both were there. This kind of behavior has no place in America. And it is wrong. Violence is not the way to resolve any grievances. And this cheerleader culture for violence, for people who think that the answer to our problems is to go shooting billionaires or going to synagogues or all these different things, has to be called out immediately. The minute it starts, every single person with a platform must denounce it, or we're going to see this again.
I think he's right. And I think it's profound and meaningful. And bravo. Good for you, Van Jones. A Fox host was grilling the FBI head Kash Patel on the security mistakes that set up this whole situation. This is clip 6.
They did a great job on the ground, but they remain reactive. The proactive approach is still under great scrutiny. The president of the United States is averaging an assassination attempt once a year. And there's still protocols so who's going to do the investigating of the procedures? Secret Service can't investigate themselves because there's still people in leadership at the Secret Service that were responsible for Butler. How does that happen? It was a failure.
Right. I can't speak to Butler, and I agree it was a total failure. Absolutely. But I have full confidence in Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. He oversees the United States Secret Service. I've talked to him repeatedly over the weekend, and I've spoken with him and said, whatever you need from the FBI, whatever we can assist in, and however we can better prepare to protect our protectees going forward with the United States Secret Service, this FBI stands ready to do, and we're going to.
Meanwhile, a literally universally admired spokesman who is not partisan on one side or another actually talks about unity meaningfully coming up in this greatest nation on God's green earth.